Benji.
What's that?
Benji.
What's up?
Hello.
Hi.
What's up?
Not much. I had a question for you, actually.
Shit, I had a question for him that I wanted to ask, but what's your question for me?
Oh, should I keep going? Or
Yeah,
do-
no,
start
go.
over?
No, ask me.
If you were able to go back in time, what would be the first thing you would do?
Ooh. What are the mechanics of this?
It is normal linear time travel. Don't overthink it.
Okay, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
If I go in the past, is everyone going to speak in an English accent like they're all portrayed by English actors?
I mean, how far are you going back?
Like if I wanted to go back and see Jesus, do I have to learn Aramaic?
No,
Or
no.
are they speaking in British
They're
accents?
speaking British accent.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'm probably going to go to the 50s.
Of course. If you go back to Jesus times, they might speak Aramaic, but there will be subtitles
Oh, awesome.
at the bottom.
And
of
I'll
their
just be like,
faces.
what's everyone complaining about? I can clearly see what he's
This
saying.
is great.
No, I've thought that
50s
before.
Actually,
Well, I've always wanted to go to the 50s
Mhm.
just because, like, I mean, racism, that was fun. I'm just kidding.
disgusting. I honestly, if I wasn't black, I would love to go back to the 50s.
I mean, I'd love to go to the 50s just, like, if we're talking about stupid, I'd go to the 50s for a milkshake. If we're talking about, like, I actually want to see something happen,
Mhm.
kind of want to see some big, like, events from, like, the Bible times, just to
Nice.
see how they played out and be like, hey, this isn't how the book described it. I like
This
the
is wildly exaggerated, or it's wildly underplayed.
Be like, I like the book better.
My first thing that I would always want to do is I would go back to myself as a baby, and I would just like hold me
Oh.
as a baby. I don't know why. I just always wanted to do that. Or B, I would tell my mom to get me into acting sooner.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me
Very
this?
selfish reasons. Well, actually, this wraps back into what our subject is today.
Right. So we have a very special guest on today, director Taylor Morden, who is best known for the documentary film Pick It Up, Ska in the 90s, which is a documentary about
Ska music.
literally
If you
exactly what
don't know what that is, look it
Yeah.
up, and you'll be surprised that you probably know more of it than you
a
think.
lot of ska that you know. And the upcoming film, The Last Blockbuster, which is a documentary about the literal Last Blockbuster video store
Oh,
in
fun.
Bend, Oregon. It was supposed to premiere, I think, if not this month, then next.
Mhm.
However, due to circumstances, it's going to be delayed for a moment. But in the meantime, Taylor spearheaded a really amazing project that we've mentioned on one of our podcasts.
Yes.
And it's called Project 88. And would you like to explain?
Basically, they took Back to the Future 2, split it up into 88 scenes, and distributed the scenes out to 88 people who obviously submitted and were like, oh, I want to do a scene.
Uh-huh.
And basically, everybody recreates the scene in whatever fashion they want to.
It's amazing.
And then we clip it all together, and we're going to have a movie of just a bunch of people making a movie, and it's going to be great, and we're super excited. And yours truly's
yeah.
are in it.
We are scene 2. We originally got scene 57, which was when Marty first buys his like inconspicuous outfit of the black fedora and the black jacket.
Yeah.
Super excited for that scene. I missed it because honestly, and we even talk about this in the episode, my fear of perfectionism, I didn't respond to him when I should have.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't read in the email was he said, if you don't respond to this by tonight, I'll assume that you can't do it. I'll give your scene out to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I didn't respond to it, not realizing that was in the email.
Yeah.
And when I finally opened up the email, I kind of
Your heart drops,
dragged
yeah.
myself into doing it because I was still dealing with this perfectionism thing.
Mhm.
Opened it up and it was I opened it up on Monday and it was like Saturday we'll give the scene up. So I email Taylor. I was heartbroken. I was just like, oh my gosh, we lost the scene. And he was like, hey, just get on the wait list.
Mhm.
And I honestly was like, all right, I'll get on the wait list because I have no excuse not to.
Yeah.
I
good.
want to do this. I do want to do it. And honestly,
you don't want to let me down because I was super excited.
and I didn't want to let you down. And honestly, it was a great exercise. And we talked
Yeah.
about this in the episode. Is a great exercise of just doing and not overthinking.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got scene 2 because that way I can watch the movie and ours comes really quickly and then I can just enjoy watching the movie and not anticipate, oh my gosh, when's ours coming? When's ours coming?
Right, exactly.
Because I'm like that.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this episode, thank you so much. We'll include the links below to watch Back to the Future 2, as in TOO.
To TOO as in as well.
Correct.
Also.
TOO as in as well. And we want to say a big thank you to Taylor Morden for putting this together, and a big thank you for every single one of the 88 plus people who helped bring this project to fruition. Your imagination and your creativity have not gone unnoticed, and honestly, I think it's been a great shining light in this time. So here's to all of you guys.
I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome to the Pink Podcast. We are a pop culture podcast where we talk about film, media,
and everything else,
and the impact that it's leaving or has left on our generation. I am Josiah Rizzo. I am a filmmaker, writer, director.
I'm Benji Jones, and I am an actor, cowboy, and all-around badass.
Okay, those are three things. And we are joined by Taylor Morden of Pop Motion Pictures.
Ooh.
Taylor, welcome.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So where are you calling us from right now?
I am hunkered down in Bend, Oregon. It's right in the middle of the state.
Nice.
Not a lot of people.
Good. I like your backdrop. You are a proper fan of pop culture.
Indeed. This is my office. This is where I work from.
That's nice. I see that you have the self-lacing shoes from the movie in the background there. Like, we were just looking those up because we were like, oh my gosh, we should do this as a Halloween costume. Marty and Doc, and we were like, yeah, those shoes are they're something. They're special.
When did you get those?
Those are just the cheap Chinese knockoffs. They don't actually self-lace.
Honestly, I respect you more for having the knockoffs than having the $28,000 real ones.
That was like $11,000 was like the cheapest one I saw.
Yeah.
Yes. These are the ones where you have to glue on the Nike logo by yourself because they can't legally sell them.
Wow. I love that.
Wow. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
So, dude, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes.
We have never met before in person.
Nope.
But somehow I saw a post about Project 88 and this little thing that you were doing to kind of unite the world together. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I was just chatting much like this with other filmmakers and other creative people because we were all getting a little bit stir crazy. This was a couple weeks ago. So we were about 10 days into self-quarantine, and we were trying to think about things we could do to stay connected, something that would be fun and creative. And we had all kind of lost that creative motivation to just do things. You know, we're sitting at home like, yeah, I got this project I can work on. I've got this editing that needs work. But, you know, all of our shoots were canceled basically. And so we floated some ideas around, and I kept thinking back to there's a Star Wars fan-made film where they chopped it up into, I think, 200 scenes or something, and they sent it out to people, and fans did it with Legos and live action and cartoons and all that stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, what if we did Back to the Future, because Star Wars has already been done. Of course, if you're going to do Back to the Future, I think you have to do Back to the Future Part 2 because hoverboards.
Yeah. I know that was my first thought. Like when I first saw the post about it, I was just like, oh, I wonder why they started with 2. And then I looked through all the scenes. I was like, oh, of course that's why you started with 2. It's kind of like the most fun. And you even included, oh, here it is.
That's why.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And
that's of course the real one that Robert Zemeckis didn't want people to use, right?
Of course, yes.
No, that's amazing. It's kind of, you get like the best of all three worlds. You get the first film, you get the second film, and then you even included like the teaser at the end.
It's part of the movie, yeah.
When we go back to the Future 3.
Oh, fun. That's so great. I love it.
I meant to ask, was that one person who got that full scene?
Yes. And it's not even counted in the 88. You know, it's the 89th scene. We broke it into 88 because 88 miles an hour is how you get where you want to go.
Did you not realize?
Did you just get
I
that?
did, but like, I'm so like, I was like doing so much. Like, okay, so truth be told, I was looking into just kind of like what your inspiration was behind this. Obviously, doing some research. We last night watched Pick It Up, Ska in the 90s. I didn't realize how big a fan of ska I was.
I didn't realize how much ska that I actually knew. I was he's like, oh, it's ska. And I was like, what?
And then I was doing so much of that it completely passed me by that Project 88 was named, that it was specifically chosen for 88 miles per hour. And I feel a little slow, but that's okay. I've caught up.
I literally told you that.
Did you?
Yes.
I never listen.
You don't.
No. So have you ever done something like this before? Have you ever sweeted a film, and have you ever heard of that term before?
Of course. I have never sweeted a film before. I always admired, the YouTube clips where somebody just does a scene, or, there's a lot of Lego animation and a lot of animators that just redo scenes from movies and things like that. And so I never did it myself, but I figured if you can't think of what you should be making with your free time, just redo something somebody else did. I'm a musician, and I've played in a lot of cover bands. So this is basically the cover band version of film.
I mean, had you ever really considered that notion previously, the idea of kind of like being a cover band for film?
Not really. I mean, it's the kind of thing where if you're working, and I'm a filmmaker, I'm making films most of the time, you don't really have time to do a project like this. I mean, this was a ton of work, just the organizing side. And then I ended up doing a scene myself, which took days and days, but lockdown on quarantine, it seemed like a really good use of my time.
Because you're a documentary filmmaker, or at least that's what your primary films have been. But you seem to have obviously an artistic side. You love narrative. I feel like documentaries are even more time consuming than narrative sometimes. Is that correct?
I assume so. I haven't done a narrative feature. I've only done narrative shorts. So I don't know, how long that would take. But you hear most features shoot, between 30 and 80 days, or low budget, a little bit less than that. Documentaries shoot for 2 to 5 years. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
You've been working on The Last Blockbuster for a while now. It was supposed to premiere, I know it was supposed to premiere this year before, obviously, everything happened. How long had you been working on that project?
We started shooting that in early 2017. So we're just over the 3-year mark now.
My goodness. The amount of dedication. I feel like I've always admired documentary filmmakers just for the sheer like willpower to like stick with something for so long, because even with narrative, as long as it takes, you're usually not, you can kind of like move on to the next thing.
So like after this all comes together and obviously it turns out awesome, are we doing parts 1 or 3 or possibly a different movie? Is there something else on the horizon?
That's a great question, and a lot of people have asked me that. I don't know. I think we can put it to a vote. I'd love for someone else to spearhead something, and I can just do a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the organizational part, the spreadsheets involved. I didn't realize there would be so many spreadsheets, and like keeping track of who's done, who's working on it, who's confirmed. This one's done, but it doesn't have sound, or, which ones have I got the credits for? Are they all like put together yet? Even for just 88 scenes, that was a lot of work.
Oh yeah. But you seem to like ignite like a fire in a lot of people that I'm sure surprised even you. As honestly, I didn't realize the passion that was in the community for Back to the Future lovers.
Yeah, I didn't either. That was a surprise. I realized after we put it out there that we probably could have done 200 people doing shorter scenes because so many people were interested. We still have a wait list, if anything drops out, of like 50 more people who wanted to get in on it, who were too late.
Well, it's probably different experience for you in the process of filming your scene, but for us, there was something very kind of, I don't know, therapeutic about shooting it.
Yeah, it was very much like we obviously, like everybody else, we've all been locked inside and we're all creative. So we all just really want to be doing something and want to be pursuing. And obviously the industry is shut down right now. And it was just so great to kind of have that, like that little glimmer of, you know what, we can still be creative and we can still be a community and come together and make something fun and great and have a good time. So yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of being like a kid again.
Yeah, that was the best part of all of it is people, and there's filmmakers and there's just regular families who are cooped up at home filming on their iPhone with their kids. And everybody finished their scene and they're like, thank you, that was so fun. What a great relief, a break from watching the news. You know, we got to play with action figures, or we got to pretend to be Biff for like an hour. It's such a great thing for people to have something fun to do in such a crazy time.
Yeah. Did it, like your childhood, did you do stuff like that? You know, were you like messing around with a camera from a young age?
I'm guessing I'm a little older than you guys, and when I was a kid, cameras were a little harder to come by.
It is kind of insane. That was like what, like late 80s, early 90s, whenever like they started to become more accessible for people.
Yeah, but we didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, so I didn't have a video camera or any kind of. I had a 35 millimeter stills camera that I couldn't afford to develop film
Amazing.
on. But I would, you know, act out movies with my action figures and just not record it.
I mean, that's the best way, because then you can just change the script as you go, and there's no continuity to worry about.
Not at all. Wait, where did you first like have like where did that first spark of that love for cinema come from?
In high school, there was a video camera that I could borrow, and I would do, you know, it used VHS tapes, and you put it on your shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
And you had to edit with one VCR stacked on top of the other and play and record on the two VCRs.
Wow.
I would do all of my school projects that way. So I didn't want to write a 4-page paper if I could make a 4-minute video instead. And at the time, the technology was so like scarce that the teachers were all impressed that I could make a video at all. So I would get really good grades without having to read the book or learn about the subject.
I just love the ingenuity that directing and filmmaking fosters in people, especially when you're like working on zero to no budget.
Oh yeah. You got to find those workarounds, like always.
I don't know why. There's something very poetic about you telling me that your first like instances with working with a camera were you trying to figure out a situation and solve it, and somehow filming it made it kind of easier.
Yeah. All of my home videos from growing up were like, we had to, obviously it was like on tape. So there was no like cutting and editing afterwards. It was literally like, you have to do the scene, stop recording, rewind, watch it, see if it's right. If not, rewind to the beginning, re-record it.
Yep.
And then we were always recording over previous things. So like half of my videos have little cuts of like our like sports teams like doing stuff like as kids of like, oh, we're doing a karate movie, but then here comes a little kid playing soccer.
Oh my God.
Just like, oh, okay, it's just what it is. Bad cuts.
That's awesome.
Have you kind of been a part of the filmmaking community in Oregon?
Well, I grew up splitting my time between Oregon and San Francisco. But I moved back to Bend full time about 5 years ago. I tried to get into the local film scene here. There are a good amount of really creative filmmakers here, but there's not, you know, any kind of real film industry. There's like only indie people doing indie stuff.
Right.
It's a great community and we're having a lot of fun, but there's not, you know, a gaffer. There's not a sound person. There's just a bunch of indie filmmakers trying to make stuff, which is kind of the way I like it. I don't like the Hollywood system that much. I prefer, you know, people, like you said, making do with what they have. And here in Bend, we don't have a lot, but we make a lot with it.
I've noticed that, like, remembering, because we both grew up in Texas. We started kind of making films out in Texas, and just the difference between working out in the industry and out here, which is obviously, I love it. I love the unions. I love what they do for everybody. I love the fact that you can say, I need a gaffer, and there's specifically a gaffer. Versus in Texas, where you're just like, I need someone who holds a boom mic and can also hold a light. And honestly, I just need a body. Like,
Yes.
The reason I even wanted to reach out was just like, there was something about it, like getting your hands dirty again. Like, you know, not being afraid of it not being perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, was like, how do you find yourself balancing being a professional filmmaker while also just trying to tell a story and allowing the story to be what it is?
Yeah. Well, a lot of that, I think, comes down to what you just said, which is like perfect being the enemy of good, right? Like you could spend forever trying to make something perfect, or you can make 20 pretty good things in that same time. And so I'm a big fan of just making stuff for the sake of making stuff. And to that end, I do as many as I can of like the 48 and 72 hour film competitions. I think that's a great way to stay active and creative. And no matter what, you're going to be done in 3 days. So I kind of wanted a little bit of that aspect in this project to be like, okay, we're going to do this silly thing and it's going to be a lot of fun and we're going to be really creative, but we're also going to be done in a week no matter what.
How are you doing right now with the scenes?
I think my computer's over here and I think I just got the last scene in my email. So it's just a matter of stitching it all together.
Amazing. So if you're hearing this, then most likely it's already been premiered on YouTube.
That's exciting.
We'll have the link below for you to watch it. Obviously, what are the ways that you plan on showcasing this film for people?
I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and I hope they don't take it down. It's my first try with totally plagiarized content. But I think it falls under the parody laws.
I think it does too. And obviously I've seen I've seen full on recreations. You're not reusing the score, or at least not for major parts.
Right.
And the ingenuity. All right. I did have a main question. 2 questions. Favorite scene you were excited to see someone create, and then follow up. What surprised you the most?
Oh man. All the stuff in the Cafe 80s in in 2015, I was really excited to see how people would do, like the Pepsi coming up out of the table and the just the fight with Griff in the future. And a lot of that stuff came out really cool. But I was most surprised at like the range of everything. There are no bad ones. There's just different. Some of them are great because the acting is absurd, or because all they had was popsicle sticks and pieces of cardboard, and that's great. And then there's ones that are really well done. I was like impressed, like, oh, they got actors and they had somebody record the soundtrack with real instruments, and I'm like, right on. That's great too. It's all great. Anything goes. That was kind of the point. So when you watch it now, it'll flow from like Legos to 3-year-olds acting to like a pretty professional scene done by filmmakers with actors, back to a cartoon to sock puppets. And it just flows. Yeah. And I think since it's such a popular movie, you'll be able to track like, oh, the red shirt one is always Marty. And the silly wig is always Doc.
That was kind of the main thing that inspired me, because I didn't know what this was going to be going into it. And then I was seeing when you were looking on the hashtag of Project 88, and like everything that people were sharing was just like, it was just such a wide range of people that were like so into it. And even the people who didn't have, production or a way to really like do it and make it like amazing, just everybody was having the best time, and everybody was so like committed to making it happen that's what just made it so like, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, like I'm really excited to get ours done and get this in and see everything. So yeah.
Would you say perfect is the enemy of good?
Yeah.
When we kind of do this podcast, we try to highlight like positive or negative impacts of pop culture. And for me, there was something honestly so poignant about this, because we're in a really interesting, difficult time. It's very uncertain. And what's fascinating is it's kind of highlighting what's been an anxiety in people for the longest time, which is, am I doing things with my life? Am I getting the best thing done? Am I good at what I do? And honestly, to just be sent back to square one, with no excuses, and just and kind of a very like, I don't know why, but knowing that you had an enthusiasm for it was such like a loving embrace, where it's like, I still see people posting on Facebook where they're like, if you're not like busting or grinding during this time, then you're wasting it. And it's just like, we're all processing.
Yeah.
And the fact that like, when you said even like, because the specific one that kind of like broke that cycle of perfectionism in me was seeing the Pepsi bottle come up out of the like that effect, that simple effect. I just went, wait, I can create again.
Yes.
And I don't need to be judged.
Was that an effect that somebody did that inspired you?
Somebody else did it.
Okay.
I don't know what scene. I'm sure if you're listening, comment below if that's your scene. But
Yeah.
it literally just broke something in me in a good way. It was like, wait, I'm allowed to be a kid again. I'm allowed to create, and I don't need to judge myself for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. This whole process, seeing what people came up with, given the limitations, given that most of us, some people started early enough where they could still get 4 or 5 people together and go out someplace and do something. But most people
Right.
just had the people they were quarantined with. So you'll see like somebody's dad playing Biff, and they didn't really want to do acting, but they were there. You know, that kind of thing.
Like, you're in the house with us, you're in.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cats and dogs. And, you know, there's puppets made out of potatoes, puppets made out of bananas, just
Oh my God.
whatever was there. And to me, that's the kind of thing, like, you would never have gotten that if this was done at a normal time when people could go to the store and buy whatever props they needed and do all that. Instead, people are making do with what they have, which is kind of magical to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that definitely adds an element of like charm to the whole thing, is that like, no, we're locked in our houses and you use what you got.
Right.
So, and now, very importantly, pivoting to the films themselves. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have a very important question. Clearly, Back to the Future Part 2 was the superior film to remake. But what is your favorite Back to the Future film?
Oh, 2 is my favorite, hands down.
Nice.
Nice.
Good.
Really?
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of that film? If you had to pick one moment.
The moment where Marty says, little girl, I need to borrow your hoverboard, and then gets on the hoverboard. That was movie magic to the highest degree. When I was a kid, I believed in hoverboards so much. And my older brother took me, like, we lived pretty far out of town, and he drove me to Toys R Us probably in 1990 under the guise of, they just came out with hoverboards, we're going to go get one. And it was like an hour drive, and I believed for that whole hour that we were going to go.
Oh, no.
And then when we got there, he told me that they had stopped selling them because they were too dangerous. Not that they didn't exist, just that they stopped selling them. So as a 10-year-old kid, I was crushed, but also so optimistic, like that this thing existed and I just couldn't have it yet. And we still don't have them, but
man.
I don't know if your I don't know if your brother's the worst or
the
also
best.
like the best, because that's kind of an amazing story.
it's
So
pretty good.
how long did it take you to realize that they don't actually exist?
I forgot about it for probably 5 years. I probably believed in them until I was a teenager.
Like, what do you mean they don't exist? Like, they're out there somewhere.
I just figured only rich
Yeah.
people had them, you know?
Yeah,
Right, of
exactly.
course.
It's the rich people thing. They're hiding them from us.
What's interesting about Back to the Future 2, when I first saw it, I thought it was inferior to the first film, and I still do. Like, I consider the first film to be the best, like the best film of the trilogy.
Yeah, that's fine, but you're wrong.
But what's interesting is that, like, as we get older, like rewatching them, I'm just like, Back to the Future 2 is actually kind of bomb. Like, this is a really good movie.
It's
and
way more fun.
it is a lot of fun. And there's so many moments, like, you think the first one's more iconic, but then you rewatch the second one, and you're just like, there are so many iconic moments in that movie.
I just love that Marty always gives the skateboards back after he takes them. Like, that bugs me in movies when people are like, I'm going to borrow this. And then, like, 3 years later, they still have it. And I'm just like, no, he always returns it right at the end of the scene. It's a responsible kid.
Did you see the second one knowing that there was going to be a third film?
By the time I saw them, I saw the third one in theaters. But the first 2, I was too young, and I saw them at home. And I think it was probably because they released 2 and 3 in consecutive years, because they filmed them at the same time. So I think I saw the second one like right at the same time as the third one, like the same day or the day before.
Okay.
Like we rented the VHS and then went and saw the third one.
All I know is that ending was mind-blowing to me as a kid when I first saw it, when Marty comes running back at the end of the second film, and that score just kind of like swells up. It's just that moment. I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is the best ending ever."
And then it says to be concluded.
And you're just like, "This is
That's new.
it's too much for a kid to handle."
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I have one more question. Do
Okay.
you have any more?
No, I was gonna start wrapping it up.
One final question.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 88, where do you rank our scene?
Ooh.
Oh my God! Don't do that.
We're scene 2. Just
I know. I know which scene you are. How do you rank these things, right? It's impossible.
No, true.
It's
true.
impossible.
I was like,
I
I
think-
would give the most political answer ever.
I was about to say, I mean, I just would like to remind you that we're on our podcast.
Right,
So be
right.
gentle.
Yours has some of the best acting and some of the best production. It's
Yes.
one of the most true to the original. I'll give it that. But they're all kind of number one for different reasons.
I'm looking forward to any of the scenes where kids are just getting to remake.
Yeah,
the
that's
movie.
super cute.
Yeah. My
wanna
favorite
see
though
some
is when
animals
it's
dressed up.
when it's all grown-ups and then there's one kid. Right? Those are the best.
Yes.
I love when it's like regular Marty and regular Lorraine, but Doc is 3 years old. You're just like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm on board."
I love it. I love the inspiration that's come out of here. If you had, and we'll end on this one question for you, but if you had one thing to say to any potential filmmakers out there or anybody who was a part of this project and maybe a little fire got ignited in them to do more, is there anything you would tell them as a filmmaker yourself?
Yeah, just keep making stuff. There's no reason not to. If you feel like you're in a creative rut and you don't know what to make, just make something that doesn't matter. Don't show it to anybody, just make stuff for yourself. And that's for me, that's the way through all of this, is just creativity. The more we can create and put something out into the world, the better. And if not everybody likes it, that's fine. As long as you like it.
Honestly,
Perfect.
couldn't
Got
have
it.
said that better myself.
Right?
Taylor, for future, where can we follow you and what can we keep up with you on?
I'm on Instagram at Pop Motion Pictures and at Last Blockbuster Movie, at Ska Movie. I'm on Facebook. You can just find me with my name and whatnot.
Cool.
This project is at BTTFTOO, Back to the Future 2.com. And it's on Facebook. If you search for it and whatever, you can find it. But it'll be on YouTube probably by the time this is out. So just search for it there or go to the BTTFTOO.com and it'll be there.
I love that you spelled two, T-O-O. Like, we're also Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I love when people take the time to be like, oh, wait, can I do a T-O-O instead of a T-W-O?
Love it.
Hats off. Love it.
Well, honestly, Taylor, thank you. I know you're incredibly busy. I mean, even in quarantine, what you're working on, we'll let you get back to that. Obviously, we're just as excited to see the project as you are. So thank you for taking time to join us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Taylor, we look forward to seeing the film. Thank you for joining us on the show. Thank you guys for listening. I am Josiah Rizzo.
I'm BENJI Jones.
I'm Taylor Morden.
And
And
on
on
Wednesdays, we wear pink.
We'll line it up later.
We'll make it work. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. That was a good episode, wasn't that?
That was a great
episode?
No.
Well, we got to do a little bit of the business. So do you want to?
Do the business. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. Make sure you are following us on all social media. We are at Pink Popcast.
That's pop with a P.
And make sure that you follow us on Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. Give us a rate and review on there.
That really helps us grow our audience.
Exactly. And go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. And, of course, the bell for notifications on new uploads.
Yeah, and if you have any thoughts on this week's episodes, make sure you let us know in the comments via mail, Carrier Centaur, whatever works for you.
Carrier Centaur, Zip Tube, what are they called? The
Yeah,
little
those zip
suction-
tubes, that would be amazing. Let us
suction
know that
tube.
way. And also, if you don't know this already, we do have a Patreon.
Whoop whoop.
It starts at $3 a month. You know, we're going to have some extra episodes on you. I think we We've got some Netflix stuff that we want to watch, but we
Yeah.
do have an episode up there right now, and we have one in the works for you. So just tune in.
And then we probably got Tiger King coming soon.
Well, I don't want to keep promising them things that I have to like catch up to.
Okay.
So we do have an episode for you on Patreon.
That is not Tiger King. I paused a beat so you could cut that out if you wanted to.
No, we'll probably leave it. But thank you guys for listening, and honestly, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are, and
let us know what else you want to see and hear, and share us with your friends and family and on your social media if you want to.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays,
we wear pink. Except we already did that with the
Shut up.
Thank you, Taylor Morden, heir to the Morton salt industry.
What? Morden.
Morton.
Morden. You're just being frustrating for...
Let's get this started.